Culture refers to how we feel working for the organization. Right? How do we feel being a part of the company? And culture, 40% of the overall employee experience. So it's a little bit more than technology, and it's a little bit more than physical space. And culture is also the hardest thing for organizations to figure out, because physical space is easy. You can see it, you can build it. Technology also, you can see it, you can build it. It's just about money and time. Culture isn't something that you can necessarily see or touch. Culture is the one thing that you feel. And as we know in our companies, the emotions are not always very easy for us to figure out. It's something that organizations struggle with a lot. But it's also the environment that has the greatest impact for companies around the world. I remember when I graduated college, and I went to school an hour south of San Francisco. And I studied economics and psychology. I double majored. I graduated with honors, and I was very, very excited to join the business world. And my first job out of college, I went to go interview for this company in Los Angeles. And when I interviewed there, they told me all these wonderful things about the company. You're going to be traveling, you're going to be meeting with executives, you're going to be loving your job. It's going to be amazing. So I took the job. And I had to drive 1.5 hours to work, 1.5 hours back from work every day. So 3 hours a day, 15 hours a week, just driving. And a couple of months into my job, all I'm doing is data entry, cold calling, and PowerPoint presentations. And I'll never forget the day that the CEO came out of his office and he says, "Jacob, I got a really important project for you. Come over here." So naturally, I got very excited. I thought, this is it. This is the moment. Something great's going to happen. And he calls me over, and he takes out his wallet, and he gives me a $10 bill, puts it in my hand. And he says, "I'm late for a meeting. I need you to go run down to Starbucks and get me a cup of coffee. And get yourself a coffee as well." And I thought, "Oh, you're so generous. Thank you very much." So I went, I got him the coffee, and in my mind, I'm thinking, are you crazy? This is why I worked so hard in school, is to get you a cup of coffee? I hate you. Get your own cup of coffee. But that's what I thought on the inside. On the outside, I said, "Of course, I would love to get you that cup of coffee. I hope it burns your face off." And that was one of the last full-time jobs I ever had working for anybody else around 15 years ago. And ever since then, I've been really interested and fascinated with this concept of employee experience and the future of work and leadership. So I worked for an organization that had a bad corporate culture. And there's a story that oftentimes gets told about President Kennedy in the United States. And when President Kennedy went to go visit NASA, the NASA Space Center, and he's doing a tour of the NASA Space Center, and in the middle of the tour, he sees a man walking down the hall with a broom and a bucket. And President Kennedy stops the tour, and he goes over to the man, and he says, "Hi, I'm President Kennedy. What do you do here?" And the man says, "I help put a man on the moon." He didn't say, "I sweep the bathroom floors." He didn't say, "I restock paper towels." He said, "I help put a man on the moon." That is a very different type of corporate culture than the one that I was a part of. And I always like to use this fun test with executives whenever I interview them. And when I sit them down one-on-one, I call it the corporate culture pill test. And I always ask all these executives the same thing. And I say, if I could bottle up what it was like to work at your company and give it to you in a pill form so that you could experience all the side effects of working for your company, would you swallow the pill? And the executives always say the same thing. Nope. So if you're not willing to swallow the corporate culture pill, then how can you ask other people to do it for you? You can't. And I came up with this idea because when I was working on a previous book, I was watching a show on TV, and in the middle of the show, there was a commercial. And the commercial was for a prescription drug. And it talked about the drug, and then at the end of the commercial, it got to the side effects. Nausea, weight gain, skin discoloration, bleeding from the eyes, and in some cases, death. And I thought, who would want to take this kind of a prescription drug? Nobody. But at the same time, a lot of people work for organizations that have the exact same side effects. A lot of people work for organizations where for prolonged exposure, you gain weight, you argue with your spouse, bleeding from the eyes, right? We've all been to those meetings. So if you're not willing to take the prescription drug, why would you be willing to work for an organization that has those same side effects? It doesn't make any sense. So corporate culture, 40% of the overall employee experience. It is how you feel. And corporate culture is something that you learn. The employees who work at your organization, they learn the corporate culture from all of you, from the leaders inside of the company.
Athena and I hope you enjoyed that. If you want more content like that, check out futureofworkpodcast.com. And do me a favor, please review the podcast on Apple Podcasts or whatever your preferred channel is. Thank you very much.